To be clear, the title of this video is in reference to a video I made 8 years ago with the same title, and in that video, I was making fun of the sheer amount of people that thought the Switch was going to fail. Actually, it was a direct reference to Doom coming to the Switch around that time, and so just doomed to fail. I was hilarious back then. Even if you go back and look at that video and sort comments by newest, all of them say this video aged like milk. So clearly, one or two things have happened here. One, all these people don't think 146 million units sold is successful, or two, they're dumb. I guess history is just doomed to repeat itself, as right now people are having the same conversations they had back then, that the Switch 2 isn't structurally sound, that Nintendo lacks innovation or the ability to surprise us anymore, that the PlayStation 4 barely has enough power to give them a half chop, that this is merely just a Switch Pro equivalent of an upgrade and won't do nearly as well as the Switch 1 did. Despite the fact, by the way, that all these people spewing negativity about the Switch 2 online, much like a woman, hasn't even seen one turned on yet. I mean, sure, we saw a quick look at Mario Kart in the Switch 2 reveal trailer, but you realize this is pre-rendered footage on a 3D model in an animated trailer. This thing's about as real as half the influencers on Instagram. There is a whole lot that we don't know about this system yet, but even taking into account what we do know, there is no reason to assume that this thing is going to fail. Nintendo didn't fail after the Wii U. Why in the mother of Metroid would you assume they would fail now? Okay, what if I told you that I do know of at least one accessory that is confirmed to work with the Nintendo Switch 2. This video is sponsored by Genki, but I've been playing a ton of games recently with this controller they sent over, and it's actually really awesome. So the SN30 Pro is Genki working with 8-Bit Do, and if you know anything about controllers or you've been watching my channel for a while, 8-Bit Do makes some of the best quality controllers that we've seen in recent years. It has Hall effect analog sticks to utilize magnetic sensors instead of physical contact, eliminating wear and tear, which prevents stick drift. The Pocket Pro is compatible with Switch, PC and Steam, Android, and iOS. That includes every single one of your favorite handhelds. And with this sick translucent color, it gives such a nice cyberpunk high-tech vibe. And then of course, you want to travel with it. It fits so easily into anything, but this Say a Sling quality bag. It'll fit literally any of the consoles that you have if you're on a bus or a train or you're traveling or an airplane. It even fits a Switch with a whole grip attached to it. It even fits a Steam Deck and a Switch at the same time, and the SN30 Pro. Each one of these bags also come with a couple of accessory companions. It has a Saya tab, which is compatible with the Find My app and tracks your bag if you misplace it. And then the Saya Swipe, which keeps your screen smudge free. Also, one of my favorite things about this bag is this little fid lock on the side here. It's magnetic. It's almost like a fidget toy. It's so fun to play with. Okay, if you want to grab either of these, I'll leave links down below in the description. I can't tell you enough how quality they are. Thank you, Genki, for sponsoring the video. All right, let's get back on with the video. Okay, I'm just gonna dive right in and talk about one of the biggest concerns people have regarding the Switch 2, and that's power. I love my Steam Deck. I use it a lot, I play it all the time, but how do I say this? It doesn't matter. Since release in 2022, the Steam Deck has sold a grand whopping total of 3 million. Now that's still pretty good for Steam Deck. I'm not, you know, but it's kind of a sneeze in a hurricane. It's like a firefly trying to compete with the sun. Really, I don't understand this fixation with these more powerful PC handhelds being the reason the Switch 2 might fail. The next closest in sales to the Steam Deck is the ROG Ally with 500,000 copies sold. ARMS sold 5 times more than that. ARMS, people! These handheld PCs, they're fantastic. They serve a niche of gamers who want to take their PC games on the go. But the reality is they're expensive, they're a luxury to have, but not necessarily a necessity item, and they don't have Mario, or Zelda, or Pikmin, or Animal Crossing, or Metroid, or Mario Party, or Mario Kart, or Tetris 99.
Some people prefer to just pick up a
F-Zero.
console,
Which, to be
download,
fair,
or stick in a
Switch
game
didn't really have
and
it. Are
get
you
to
listening
play
to
it
me?
without dealing with clunky storefronts or manually finding and downloading patches and updates, min-maxing their graphic settings to get the most out of their $1,000 system. There's so many painstaking responsibilities that fall on you as a handheld PC owner. It's like taking care of a small child, I would assume, and I'll soon find out. Also, with the Switch, you can dock it, you can get that TV play, the upscaled resolutions. You might be sitting at home right now and thinking, yeah, but I can play The Witcher 3 in 1080p on my Steam Deck. And like, that's great, man. Then the Steam Deck is 1,000% for you. Haha. So anyway, back to the Switch. It looks like rumors are suggesting the Switch 2 will have the power of a PlayStation 4 Pro or maybe even an Xbox Series S. And while I really do hate talking about rumors, let's just humor it for the sake of the video because I find it so interesting that anyone could think that either of these two outcomes would be bad news. This is a PlayStation 4 Pro, which people are saying this might have the power of the Switch 2. What number comes after 4? It's 5, right? Isn't that like what's out right now from Sony, the PlayStation 5? This thing, right? Like this big old spaceship-looking reverse Oreo tower thing for $500 to play current-gen games on. You thought Nintendo would be the company to figure out cramming all of this into one of these. Like, if Nintendo wanted to go back to releasing home consoles and to put out something that was an absolute powerhouse beast, they could. Like, you know they have the money to do that. But why? I want to remind you of this number here, right? Like the hybrid Switch, the first one, the one that took over the gaming industry for the last 8 years. The reason why companies like Valve even made the Steam Deck. Everybody was screaming at Nintendo to do again, but make it more powerful. And what, now it's not enough? How many giga-chip Terra circuits do you need to play Paper Mario? And all of this, by the way, is based on if the PlayStation 4 Pro rumor is true, let alone the Xbox Series S one, which quite literally brings us into this current generation. On one hand, you have people saying if the Switch 2 only has the power of a PlayStation 4 Pro, it's gonna lose to competition like the Steam Deck. And then, quite literally, in the other hand, you have the Steam Deck, which has less power than a PlayStation 4. What in the F-Zero are we talking about here? Look, I'm not that guy. I don't know what 16 gigabytes of chip squares do or how flux thermals work. The point is, we've come a long way with video games since 2013 when the PlayStation 4 released. The creation of games has been streamlined over the years, like improved game engines for more intuitive gameplay development, easily accessible asset libraries, reducing costs and barriers for development, a wealth of video game development knowledge. Hell, even AI. I mean, love it or hate it, AI is working wonders in the game development space, even for Nintendo, who may utilize AI for better resolutions and smaller file sizes. A better understanding of both the hardware and the software will allow creators to do way more with the same tech we had even 10 years ago. So trust me when I say, whatever image you have of the PlayStation's 4 power is not what it is anymore. If you see somebody online trying to tell you that if the Switch 2 has the power of a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 4 Pro, and that means it'll have low performance or just straight up won't have certain video games, they are wrong. Which is exactly why every time I see that rhetoric spewed around online, I feel like I'm trapped in the exact same 8 years ago Groundhog Day that I'm living all over again, with people saying that Nintendo's Switch, this time with a 2 attached to it, is doomed to fail. To be fair, the Wii U didn't really install a lot of faith into anybody, but I'm gonna move on to part 2 of the video now. Next, I wanna move on from power. And I want to move into a section that I would like to call wisdom. It may seem very patronizing right now,
for me to act like I've got the wisdom. I noticed I could do 3 acts of this video and have it be the Triforce, and that's like Zelda and Nintendo. I just thought that was, let me cook. There is a narrative going around online that the actual look, design, and approach that Nintendo took with this new system is lacking innovation. That motif is summarized no better than in Eurogamer's article titled, "The Switch 2 is boring and sucks ass." No, not really, but I mean, it's essentially the same. And look, I'm not trying to pick on just this one article because it's wrote by a guy named Robert and I have PTSD about my podcast. This is by far an opinion that is shared online. It's just a perfect representation summarized of that opinion. So let's break it down and step on it and smash it and spit on it. His reaction to the Switch 2 reveal trailer can be summarized in one word. Huh? That's what he wrote. Stating that it lacked imagination and that it's not like Nintendo, the toy maker. Oh, where to begin? I don't even know. Let's start with the Wii. The Wii, that could be a whole ass video on its own. Yes, it was very different. Yes, it sold very well, but it didn't sell well to the markets that Nintendo were hoping it would sell to. According to this study, the Wii had most of its usage from boys aged 6 to 11 and women aged 25 to 34. Because the Wii did 2 things very, very well. It appealed to kids and it appealed to people that were interested in fitness. The Wii severely lacked in the hardcore gamer market. While games like Wii Sports Resort, Wii Fit, and even Wii Fit Plus all sold more than 20 million copies. Other games like Twilight Princess, Mario Galaxy 2, Donkey Kong Country, even Animal Crossing, all of those games sold less than 8 million units. In fact, Skyward Sword, a Zelda game, only sold 3.7 million units, and it's actually considered one of the best-selling games on the Wii. That's how bad Wii games sold, despite selling 100 million units. In fact, a large majority of people bought the Wii and were content just with the pack-in game that came with the console and felt no need to buy anything else. I think Nintendo leaning into these types of games is definitely what they should have done at the time, considering what the Wii was, and it's why the Wii was catapulted to insane levels of success. Possibly even saved the Wii from likely failure. You compare that with the Switch, which has a similar install base of people who bought the console. Animal Crossing jumps from 5 million to 46 million copies sold. Smash goes from 12 million to 35. Zelda from 7.5 to 32. The Wii was successful, it was wacky, it was Nintendo. But as a gaming console, it really wasn't where it needed to be. And I think the proof in that is made even more apparent by the Wii U. I know a lot of things went into the Wii U being a failure, but Nintendo completely dropped the whole fitness aspect and all the games that had Wii or Wii U in the title. And even with a stellar lineup of first-party games, it just fumbled. Because people weren't interested in an underpowered console with a confusing and difficult to use gimmick. Nintendo had to pivot. They saw that they had a booming handheld market and decided to merge it with the home console. History was made. There were still gimmicks with the Switch. I mean, you had the removable Joy-Cons that were essentially just 2 Wiimotes that you could connect to the side of the console. HD Rumble and an impressively supported IR reader. The biggest gimmick, honestly, might just been the fact that you could dock the Switch, borrowing a lot of gimmicks from all of Nintendo's other consoles. It was an amalgamation without doing anything too over the top or scary. And it was perfect. This console managed to succeed with kids, adults, casual gamers, and hardcore gamers. And if you look at the list of all the top sold Nintendo Switch games, there is no more proof than this varied and fun list of games. Putting the PS2 aside, because its success story is built on many factors, and none that discredit the system and its success, but it was the most affordable way to buy a DVD player for like 10 years, and it could play Simpsons Hit and Run, so I mean, other than that, the Switch is the best-selling home console by a wide margin. So when it came to follow up that console, Nintendo really had two choices. Do exactly what everybody was screaming at them to do and make the same thing, but better, or say, nah, screw all of that. We're a fun toy company. How about we try the Kinect, but we do it better? Also, I'm sorry, but are we all ignoring the fact that you can use the Joy-Con as mice? Is that not one of the most weirdest gimmicks you've seen a console try and do? We can literally dual-wield mice. How the hell did I just pronounce mice? That was not on purpose. Let alone what kind of HD rumble we got this time or other surprises baked into the console that you can't just see by looking at it. Or what the this C button does. I swear to God, Nintendo, I'm losing my mind. Cast to throw you the gate to the dock. Is it community? Is it chat? Is it come? Like, please tell me what this does. To claim that it has no gimmicks or innovation before finding out if it has gimmicks or innovation is just the biggest cry of desperate pick-me energy that I can imagine. I'm sorry, Robert. Also, can I say, since when are we all acting like Nintendo's gimmicks end on the hardware side of development? Because big old number one, how do we know what kind of gimmicks Nintendo has in store on the software side of this console? Are you telling me you could look at a 3DS before it released and teach me all about Street Pass? Hell no! We don't know if this guy has Street Pass. Never judge a book by its cover. Did your mama teach you nothing? Two, did we forget the whole stinking video games side of Nintendo? Splatoon's paint warfare is a whole gimmick in itself that created a brand new franchise. Mario could turn into a frog last time, literally pick up a controller and do anything in Tears of the Kingdom and tell me you're not gimmicked out of your gourd. Nintendo's gimmicks don't start and end with the color of the console, and any good Nintendo fan worth their salt should know that by now. With great power comes great responsibility. And if I could retool that a little bit, with great power comes great creativity. Did you like that line? I thought of it myself. Part 3 of this video. Do you want to guess what I titled it? That's right, it's Courage. Courage! Not to be a negative Nancy and expect the worst out of every situation. I actually need a lot more of that. I'm not good at that. But regardless of that, the Switch 2 isn't made of graham crackers and spit. Like, it's not going to break if you look at it incorrectly. This hand-drawn cartoon concept art, which is apparently being taken like the word of God, like it was etched into a tablet by a burning bush. It's just a cartoon somebody drew, guys. 35 million views, 350,000 likes. This person's doing God's work. Yeah, it's not going to happen. I will admit, the first time I saw that little bit sticking out in the inside of the Switch, I did think the same thing. I was like, oh, like a little floating bit of metal plastic? That's gonna break. After I used a little bit more of my, what is it? Oh, brain. I realized that it probably won't. I mean, mine won't. Yours might. I don't know what you plan to do with it. There's whole YouTube channels of people that take hammers to new consoles. This Jerry guy is probably gonna break his. But if Jerry jumped off a cliff, you gonna follow him? How many times have you plugged in a USB-C? And how many times has that little pin on the inside broke? I'm gonna guess none. And it's gonna be the same with the Switch 2. The way the Joy-Cons are designed is it's gonna sit flush inside the groove. So the only way to snap that little bit off by taking the Joy-Con off is if you snap the Joy-Con off the wrong way and probably bust the whole railing around the side of the tablet of the Switch. And at that point, you're gonna have much bigger problems than the little penis on the inside. You could just do that on a Switch 1 if you really wanted. You could snap a Joy-Con off the wrong way and break the railing. You could also not. On top of that concern, I've heard people say, oh, the Switch is not going to have an OLED. It's going to be a LCD, and it's going to have a terrible battery life. It's probably going to cost $700. You know what? You're all right, Nintendo. This thing sucks. Can you just throw the Switch 2 away and show us the Switch 3 already? You know, I heard it has a GeForce 50,000 in there, and it can play GTA 9. So that's sick. Do I find it funny that people are demanding that this console must have an OLED screen, but also must be affordable and have a really good battery life? Yep. Some people need to realize their perfect Nintendo Switch 2 would cost $1,000, and then you'd complain about that. The OLED Switch costs $50 more than the original Switch. Would you rather Nintendo invest that $50 into the GPU to actually make the games look and play a lot better? Or would you rather they invest it into an OLED screen and have a worse GPU so that you could polish the turd? Look, I'm not saying the Switch 2 won't have an OLED screen because I don't know. I'm saying it likely won't have an OLED screen, and that's not as bad as what people think. LCD screens can still look really nice. Like, for example, the PlayStation Portal. It has an 8-inch 1080p LCD screen, and it still looks clean and crisp as hell. Much better than the original non-OLED LCD Switch, which was only 720p and had a much smaller PPI. It had less pixels per inch, which made the colors really muted and the screen itself was a lot less bright. Whereas the Portal, it has vibrant color, improved panel technology, and a much brighter and vivid screen. I'm telling you, the PlayStation Portal would be so sick if it actually worked. We don't know what screen is on the Switch 2, but I promise you, if it's an LCD, it'll be a much nicer LCD than what the original Switch had, and much nicer than what you're expecting. People hear LCD and they just think bad immediately, but you know, not everything is always just in black and white. Sometimes it's in black, red, and blue. We really just have to have the courage to trust that Nintendo are gonna give us what we've been asking for, a bigger and better Switch. And so far, it's definitely bigger. That's 1 for 2. Hopefully they go 2 for 2. And Nintendo seems to love 2 right now. It's called the Switch 2. The reveal trailer was 2 minutes and 22 seconds long. It was released 2 months, 2 weeks, and 2 days before the April 2 Direct that we're gonna get. And they published the tweet revealing the trailer at 10:22 p.m. in Japan, and 10 in military time. You guessed it, 22:22. It's a lot of twos. I don't think I'm making it through this Switch 2 era. And I'm having a kid. Oh, I'm screwed. All right, that's it. That's a whole 3 parts. That's the power, the wisdom, and the courage. So from here, whether or not this Switch 2 will be seen as a legitimate upgrade over the first one or just more of a Switch Pro, I think that also comes down to 3 things. 3 very important things that we talked about today. 1, how far it can outpower the original Switch. 2, the possible new hardware and software features in the Switch 2 that the Switch 1 doesn't have. And 3, the first and third-party games that release for this console. If we see games like Elden Ring and Cyberpunk release on the console, if we see Breath of the Wild get a patch up to 4K or 60 frames, this will really change people's perception of the console. If it doesn't work a second time, then maybe they can move on from here and they can make a new console. You're strapped to your toes and you're dead. I don't know, but to not give the people what they've been asking for the last 5 years, the same thing but better, would be an insane move to make. I'm not sure if the Switch 2 can recreate the success of the Switch 1. I mean, it was a revelation for so many reasons, let alone the fact that we got Animal Crossing through a whole pandemic, and I'm not saying I want another pandemic to make the Switch 2 more successful just so my career is better. And if anything, Nintendo Switch 2 not being able to be as successful as the Switch 1, it's not a bad look on the Switch 2, it's just another feather in the Switch 1's cap of success. But I do think that launching Mario Kart, the best-selling Switch game, and it wasn't even a Switch game, is best case scenario for the Switch 2. And that's before we even find out what's happening with Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon Z and A. Screw it, mark my words, the Switch 2's launch will be better than the Switch 1's. I have no doubt in that. But from there, it really is in God's hands, and God in this case is Miyamoto. And all of this is why I don't think the Switch 2 is doomed to fail. Sorry, hold on, I'm getting a... Oh, I didn't take this, sorry. Hello? What do you mean?
What do you? I don't understand. They're removing all the hentai games from the eShop for the Switch 2? Even the one with the big boobies? Okay. Yeah, I gotta go. I'll call you back. Yeah. Zach, delete the video, delete everything. I gotta do some rewrites. I gotta start again. Go back to square one. The video begins here.
This is why, in my opinion, the Switch 2 is doomed to fail.